Ever since racing got cancelled in mid-March following a hastily shortened Paris-Nice, all of us fans of bike racing have been sort of twiddling our thumbs at home, haven't we, waiting for a much anticipated return.
We have, but after 5.5 months, including some very emotional evenings spent watching racing highlights and getting overexcited by Everesting when ordinarily we wouldn't even give it a second look, we are here to remind you of the good news that the road racing season resumes in just a couple of weeks.
I honestly can't believe it. And what a return it's making as well. We've got about 100 races crammed into what is a 3.5 month period. So the UCI have made a sort of Frankenstein monster of a calendar, which looks set to take us all the way into the winter months.
Yes, by which point, Dan, need I remind you, we'll already be halfway through a cyclocross season. Oh yes. Anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's concentrate on the road racing first. Here is our not so brief overview of what is about to come in what's remaining of the 2020 road racing season, most of which, I'm delighted to be able to tell you, will be available to watch on the GCN app through the all-new Race Pass.
Now, the World Tour will resume in August. However, before then, there are a smattering of races where we'll see many pros return to competition. So we have the Sibiu Cycling Tour, we've also got the Vuelta a Burgos, and then there is the Durango Imacamin Bira Tour, a one-day race.
Yes. Now, if you are wondering why you've never heard of the results from the Durango Imacamin Bira one-day race before, it's because in an ordinary cycling season, no one would pay all that much attention to them. But as you've probably gathered by now, this is not an ordinary cycling season.
It's not. And those races have really lucked out placing where they have on the calendar, haven't they? Because they're going to have a lot more attention than they normally would do.
Yes, a little bit like the Slovenian National Road Racing Champs in June, which was a bit like the World Championships, wasn't it?
Yeah, that did have a lot of attention on a very buffering feed that everyone was given. Anyway, as I mentioned, the World Tour will resume in August, and it's on the 1st of August with the men's and the women's Strade Bianche, no less. And that is the start of an incredibly intense calendar, which, as mentioned, runs for 3.5 months and will culminate on the final stage of the Vuelta and the Madrid Challenge.
Yeah, I cannot wait for this, Dan. So both the men's and the women's routes of Strade Bianche remain unchanged from previous years, which means that they take the same beautiful scenic route through Tuscany along rolling hills and gravel tracks that they have done for the last, 13 or so years?
Now, as we all are aware, Strade Bianche, in very short order, has become a firm favourite amongst both fans and riders alike. And as such, the start list this year, Si, is absolutely off the scale. I was looking at it today. So we have Van Avermaet, Van der Poel, Van Aert, Van der Breggen.
Basically, it's not just a fan favourite, it's a van favourite.
Oh, but Tish, brilliant stuff, Si. And you imagine we've also got Van der Breggen as well, not confirmed yet. We've also got Vals as well as Vans. We've got Valverde. In fact, he's probably the only Val, isn't he? And I'm going to need to use my laptop to see who else is doing it. We've got Nieuwiadoma, Alaphilippe, Vos, Jungels, Narsson, Lutsenko, Benoit, Gilbert, Nibali, Fuglsang, even Tadej Pogacar, for goodness sakes.
That's incredible, isn't it? And do you know what, Dan? I think you've forgotten Peter Sagan from that list.
Yeah, I forgot
Such
Sagan.
is the level of talent taken to the hills of Tuscany. I mean, that's super exciting, isn't it? And so you can imagine how overwhelmingly excited we are that you will be able to watch both races live and then on demand on the new GCN Race Pass.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Have we mentioned that yet, Dan?
Only the once so far. Plenty more to come. Anyway, this is only the first World Tour race of the revised season, so we probably shouldn't dwell on it too long, otherwise we're going to be here all day.
Well, there's a definite kind of Italian and French flavour to August, isn't there, in the revised calendar? So hardcore cycling fans, you will need to pay attention here because in August in Italy this year, there are some serious one-day classics going on, whereas in France, we have your traditional warm-up stage races.
We do. It really is quite the fortnight of one-days, actually, in Italy, because following on from Strade Bianche, we have two monuments on consecutive Saturdays. So Saturday the 8th of August, it's Milano-San Remo, and then the following Saturday, it's Il Lombardia, which rather ironically comes earlier than it would do in the normal calendar year. And then interspersed in that 2 weeks, we've also got other one days such as Gran Piemonte, Milano-Torino, which is for the sprinters this year, and then finally a new race, Tritico Lombardo, which is a combination of 3 other one-day races.
Now, what could be particularly interesting about this season, Dan, is that given that San Remo and Il Lombardia are separated by a week instead of the usual 7 months, this could be an unprecedented opportunity for a rider of the ilk of Valverde or Alaphilippe to maybe do the Italian double that hasn't been done, in fact, since Eddie Merckx in 1972.
Well, it's possible, but it's not going to happen. You heard it here first. But yeah, really quite incredible, the calendar that we've got there. Milano-San Remo and Il Lombardia both follow the routes that they have done for many, many years now, which means that we will be cheering on those do-or-die efforts on the Poggio to get away in San Remo, and then wincing as we see the pain on the face of the riders as they climb up the notoriously steep Muro del Sormano in Il Lombardia.
Are they on race pass, Dan?
Of course they are. San Remo, Lombardy, and all the other one days that I just mentioned.
Nice. Now, not to be outdone, France opens the season also on August the 1st with the 4-day Route d'Occitanie. And as you can imagine, given its place on the calendar this year, that too has attracted a star-studded field, including Egan Bernal and Miguel Angel Lopez.
And you also have daily highlights over on GCN's Race Pass, long form.
Hey, ooh, nice, mate, nice.
It does appear actually that most of the Tour de France's top contenders will actually remain in France for their entire build-up to that race. And it makes sense really, because there's a very good selection of stage races. 3 days after the Route d'Occitanie finishes, you have the start of the Tour de l'Ain, which is a mountainous stage race, basically in the heart of the Jura Mountains of France.
Whoa, nice. Then, just 3 days after that, you have the ultimate Tour de France warm-up race, the Critérium de Dauphiné. And this year, because there's no Tour de Suisse, you will probably find that anyone who is anyone will be on the start line at Dauphiné.
You'd imagine so. And we'll have that on Race Pass, of course.
Hey!
Now, even though there are only 2 weeks or less actually separating the end of the Dauphiné with the start of the Tour this year, the UCI in their revised calendar have somehow managed to cram in an inordinate amount of races. So we have the likes of the Tour de l'Avenir, the Bretagne Classic, the Grand Prix Plouay, the Tour de Wallonie, and even the European Championships.
All on Race Pass, Dan?
Of course, it's all on Race Pass, yes.
Of course it is. We should probably leave that Race Pass thing there, shouldn't we? Just everyone's got the picture now.
Well, everyone's going to get live pictures. That's the whole point of it, isn't it? Right, with the revised calendar, Le Tour still remains the big centrepiece, as you might expect.
Well, hang on a minute, are we not going to mention the Tour of Poland? Just going to gloss over that one?
We haven't got time. It's just too packed. I know it's a World Tour stage race, Si, but you're just going to have to watch it on Race Pass, of course.
Oh, Dad, stop. Stop it.
But Le Tour starts the day after the European Championships finishes. Begins on August the 29th, which is also the same day as La Course. And this year it will be the first time since the inaugural edition of the race in 1903 that it will take place in August and September. It is, as is tradition nowadays though, still run over 3 weeks and 21 stages. And this particular edition promises to be one of the most fiercely fought in decades.
Yeah, and potentially some of the most fierce fighting could come from within individual teams themselves. Well, at least we're hoping so for entertainment's sake. For example, Team Ineos have Egan Bernal, Geraint Thomas, and also potentially Chris Froome, if A, he's selected, and B, hasn't already jumped ship to Israel Startup Nation.
Either way, that's going to be very interesting, whoever he participates with. Then you have Jumbo-Visma, of course, who you might remember actually announced their 8-man roster for the Tour de France last December, 7.5 months ago. And remarkably, all 8 seem good to go still.
Well, it's almost incredible given what's happened to the world since December.
I know, it is, isn't it? Now, they also have a trident of GC superstars, although none of them have actually won the Tour de France in the past. But they do look incredibly strong, and they could give Team Ineos a taste of their own medicine this, I was about to say July then, but this August and September.
We will, of course, have a full Tour de France preview for you right here on GCN in late August. But for now, Dan, we better crack on with the jam-packed racing calendar.
We should do. There's still a long way to go, actually, isn't there? And unfortunately, despite the UCI's revised dates, for some reason, women's flagship stage race, the Giro Rosa, still coincides with the Tour de France, which is a real shame, in my opinion. You know, loads of people want to watch it. Lots of us want to cover it well as well. Publications, websites, digital media like us at GCN and television. But it's hard to do that justice when it falls at the same time as the biggest race in the world. I wish they could just find a date that overlaps any other race, quite frankly.
Yeah. It is a shame, isn't it? But regardless, you can pretty much guarantee that the field for that race is going to be epic. And the racing, as it always is also going to be epic. It's got to be said, though, that is not the first big stage race in the women's calendar this year. The Bulls Ladies Tour takes place in early September, although that one's not 100% confirmed, is it?
No, the organisation aren't 100% sure if that race will go ahead, which is a real shame as well. And another example, actually, of how the women's calendar has been more adversely affected than the men's with the revised dates and the pandemic that we've had, which I guess was inevitable, but just another example, really, of the disparity between the two sides.
Yeah, it's also inevitable, unfortunately, that more than one race is going to clash with the Tour de France. And this year, Tirreno Adriatico, it sounds bizarre, doesn't it? But yes, that is clashing with the Tour de France this year. Although cleverly, the race organisers there have stretched it to go from 7 to 8 days, meaning that 2 of the race days will coincide with rest days at the Tour de France. So that day when you're sat there desperately wanting to watch some bike racing, you now can.
Oh, right. Well, that was rather clever. That's a good idea, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Now, immediately following what is an incredibly hectic period of racing, we then have the UCI World Championships.
Well, you say immediately following, Dan, but let's be clear, that overlaps with the Tour de France as well.
That is very true, actually, yes. The Elite Men's Time Trial Championships in Switzerland takes place on the 20th of September. And if that rings a bell to you, it's a good reason. That is also the final day of the Tour de France over in Paris.
That will come as bad news to riders like Chris Froome and Tom Dumoulin and Primož Roglic, all of whom you'd think would be ambling their way towards the Champs-Élysées sipping champagne on September the 20th, instead of crushing the World Time Trial Championships, as all 3 of them might.
Yeah. Although Switzerland's not that far away, Si, is it? So if they held the Time Trial Championships early enough in the day, and the Champs-Élysées stage, of course, is generally in the evening now, they might be able to head over there, do it, and then come back, possibly with a rainbow jersey on their backs.
Well, that would make a nice day. Or why not just move the World TT Champs to Paris, and then you could have a mega kind of split day, couldn't you? Like World Champs in the morning, Tour de France in the evening. Well, genius.
Hold on, I've come up with an incredible idea.
Oh yeah.
What they could do is have the last day of the Tour and the World Time Trial Championships on different days.
No way. Yeah, like a Monday, maybe, for the World Time Trial Champs. Inspired, Dan.
I'm sure the UCI have thought about it. Regardless, that's the situation at the moment. The World Championships will take place over a week, as per normal, incorporate the road races and time trials for the elite, for juniors, and for under 23s. But after the World Championships, there is still the very small matter of 2 more Grand Tours and all of the cobbled classics.
This is going to be the point in the season where teams and riders are going to be facing some difficult decisions, because if you wish to ride the Giro d'Italia, which starts on the 3rd of October, you will miss, unfortunately, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Amstel Gold, Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix as well, because all of them take place in the month of October.
It's no wonder, really, that RCS Sport weren't best pleased with their revised dates released by the UCI. On the other hand, La Volta a España seems to have lucked out again with its dates this year. It starts on October the 20th, which means that you could conceivably do that race, plus all of the one-day races that Si has just mentioned, with the exception of Paris-Roubaix.
Yes, and you'd also think as well, wouldn't you, that if any GC riders are looking to take on 2 Grand Tours in this season, they'd be choosing the Tour and the Vuelta as opposed to the Tour and the Giro, which, given they're so close together, is, well, it's kind of unthinkable, isn't it, really?
Yeah, the 2 Grand Tours, they are quite close together this year, aren't they? The good news, though, with the Cobble Classics coming after the Tour de France this year is that they appear to be attracting riders who might deem them as a bit too risky to do normally on the lead up to their main goals for the season. So I'm talking about the fact that Tadej Pogacar has said he is going to do the Tour of Flanders this year, and Warren Barguil, former King of the Mountains at the Tour de France, is going to do Paris-Roubaix this year.
Dan, did you just say Warren Barguil?
Yeah, wild one. And you'd hope that other sort of similar climbers might do the same thing as them.
Yeah, it's like an end of season blowout, but instead of going and eating loads of chips and drinking beer, you get to do Paris-Roubaix instead.
Get to eat some cobbles.
Yeah, hopefully not literally, but probably. Anyway, Paris-Roubaix this year forms a big part of what many are calling Super Sunday. So 25th of October, you have the final stage of the Giro, the Queen stage of the Vuelta, the men's Paris-Roubaix, and
the women's Paris-Roubaix as well.
Yes!
Wow. What a momentous occasion that is going to be. A true historical moment in the sport of cycling, I think. Yeah. It's going to be great, isn't it? Hats off to ASO for finally getting around to it in 2020. Yeah. I guess it's going to be hard to know what to watch on Super Sunday, isn't it, with so many races on the same day. But I can tell you, we have them all on Race Pass, live and on demand, so you can fill your boots.
Imagine watching them all back to back, Dan. That's quite the endurance feat, isn't it?
That would be a marathon. Yeah.
It would, wouldn't it?
Although, we should probably clarify, although it's a bit late in the day in this video, that because race rights are such an incredibly complicated beast, unfortunately, we do not have the right to show these races all worldwide. So you will have to find out over on the Race Pass information page exactly what is available in your territory.
Indeed you will, yeah. And as you say, Dan, race rights are a ridiculously complicated beast, aren't they? And it's something that we've sort of been wrestling with since the beginning of GCN. We did not show you any race footage for a number of years because effectively we played by the rules. And then recently we've been able to show you race highlights and stuff. And now, I mean, I can't tell you how excited we are by this next step. It's brilliant. And we are really thankful to all of you for your support over the last few years because you've been able to make it happen. And now this is a genuinely exciting thing for all race fans, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is for us anyway. Like I said, it's been a long 7.5 years of mainly using photos for races. And now we've got some live coverage. Happy days.
Brilliant.
Anyway, if, and I guess it is a big if, all these revised dates go ahead as planned, the final day of the road season in Europe will be November the 8th. That will be the final day of the Vuelta a España and also the final day of the Madrid Challenge. And also, incidentally, Si, the same day as the European Cyclocross Championships.
Of course it is. It's like a minefield this year, isn't it? Bonkers.
Well, it is. As minefields go, it's quite a good one, really.
Yeah,
isn't it?
True that. Oh no, I've just stepped on another professional cycling race.
Exactly. Now that's pretty much the end of our season summary for 2020. We haven't even mentioned races like the Binkbank Tour and Ghent-Wevelgem, though, have we? But I think it's safe to say that this revised calendar is stacked and packed and...
we'll all be whacked at the end of it?
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah. I mean, we literally will be whacked, won't we? Professional cyclists and cycling fans and us too, because it's going to be a busy few months. Super exciting, but busy. We will have our usual race previews, although they'll be over on GCN Racing coming up, along with a whole load of other cool racing content that you might previously have found on GCN and GCN Tech. It felt like GCN Racing was the natural home for that kind of stuff. Plus, of course, there's all the amazing cool stuff that you can get on that app with Race Pass too. So we have in-depth race previews, plus post-race analysis of the marquee events. And then there's our new weekly show called World of Cycling, which we are mega excited about. That's kind of like just a homage to everything pro racing related, isn't it? It's going to be wicked.
It's going to be very good. But I think you're right, actually, Si. Hearing all of that, we are going to be whacked at the end of it. But it's worthwhile, isn't it? Right, just before we finish, I'm going to ask everybody out there, what is the race that you are most looking forward to watching in this revised calendar? Let us know in the comments below. Whilst you're at it, Who do you think is going to win this year's Tour de France?
Oh.
I haven't told you this yet, Si, but we're going to do an early kiss of death today at the end of this show.
Right.
So since I've just sprung this upon you, I will go first.
Okay.
My prediction of who is going to win this year's Tour is Primož Roglič.
Really? Interesting. Okay, well, it's a difficult one to predict, isn't it? Because we haven't seen anyone racing for some months.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I hope that Nairo Quintana can pick up where he left off, given that that's probably the best one we've ever seen him in. And I would love to see him deliver on the promise that he showed early on in his career.
I think we all would. And in a French team as well. That'd be rather fitting this year, wouldn't it? Right, well, all that leaves us to say is, well, firstly, apologies to Nairo and Primož for the early kisses of death there. But secondly, thank you all for watching. We look forward to having your company from August the 1st through to November the 8th with all our racing.